Hello and welcome to the Mindful Running Facebook Live Talk. Today we have a very special guest, a non runner turned coach who believes strongly that running helps in building camaraderie and community. Bertrand Newson, also known as Coach B, has spent 25 plus years in the hospitality business, managing hotels in the Bay Area. He has always enjoyed sports and outdoor activities such as baseball, softball, hiking, whitewater rafting, and skydiving. After turning 40, he wanted to expand his fitness interest, and so in 2011, he participated in his first timed running event as a member of a four-person marathon relay team. And from that point on, running became a passion for him. Later that year sparked the beginning of Two Legit Fitness, where he is the founder and head coach, and the team now has 800 members. Bertrand is also the co-chairman of a charity event, Taji 100, where the mission is to raise funds and awareness for military families. And over the last decade, they have raised nearly $400,000. In 2020, he, along with his long term friend Kevin Chang, started a podcast series YouTube channel and coaching services to athletes of all fitness levels. In 2021, he was appointed to a RRCA, which is Road Running Clubs of America, national committee position focusing on development and inclusion. He gets immense amount of joy and satisfaction by organizing group fitness events and encouraging people to get active and see them appreciate the health benefits such as weight loss, reduced stress, improved level of confidence, and more energy. Bertrand loves the Bay Area and will continue to encourage others to embrace a healthier, active lifestyle and having a social impact on the community for those less fortunate. He has completed over 60 marathons and over 300 timed running events. He leads group track based speed workouts along with middle and long distance training runs. Many of his athletes have gone on to achieving PRs or personal records at all distances ranging from a 5K to marathons. Bertrand simply enjoys people and helping them be happier versions of themselves. So with that, I will get Bertrand up here. Hi Bertrand, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Wow, that's quite an intro. Where did you get all that? Wow, that's thank you, thank you. A pleasure to be with you. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Bertrand. And it's good that you made time for us early AM, your time, post a workout.
My pleasure. I mean, this is what we do when you are active. Sometimes if you have work responsibilities, you have to get up early and get your workouts in beforehand because the workday will get the best of you. So, and we can talk more about that. But yeah, my honor and my pleasure to be with you and your audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and what I'll do is, I will keep putting up questions, as and when, during the conversation. So, we can jump right in. So, just, when I was talking to you the other day and, how you kind of, told me about how your running journey really started. So I just wanted the audience also to know because, getting started is actually the most difficult for anyone to take that first step out of the door. So can you tell us, like I said in your introduction, from a non-runner to a runner to a running coach. So can you tell us how you got into running and what was your starting point?
Very good question. Well, again, it's a pleasure to be with you and the Mindful Running audience. And boy, going back over a decade now, um, I was always an active individual for the most part. Grew up playing baseball, and then as I got older and married, um, you know, spending time in the gym and playing recreational softball. Um, but I recall getting out to a local South Bay half marathon event and watching people finish that event and seeing individuals that finished running 13.1 miles and they were smiling and they were happy. And I saw a lot of those people at the time that looked like they were 15 years, 20 years, in some cases, twice my age. And I saw that they were fit and active, and I was curious at that point. So shortly thereafter, I tried on my own to run 1 mile, 1 mile, not 13.1, 1 mile. And I was humbled. It was hard. And I knew that there was a difference between cardio health and being in like in gym ship, like lifting weights. There's a distinct difference. So, and we all know you get out of running what you put into it. So I realized that if I got from running once a week to twice a week, and from twice a week to 3 times a week, and 3 times a week to 4 times a week, that my mile times would gradually improve, and that I would see other runners. And that, for me, seeing how freeing the running community was, before I had actually experienced my first live race, which we can talk about a bit later,
Yes.
I was hooked. I was hooked. So,
Yeah. I mean, I have a similar story actually. I remember going for one of the signature events here in Delhi, and just watching people much older than you finishing with a smile. And that really gets you thinking, right? Like, how can they like run so much? Because for you as a non-runner, even like a 13.1 miles or 21 kilometers is like a huge distance to cover in anyone's
absolutely.
mind. And you just keep wondering that how do people do it, and then one step and then the other step, and then it just continues from there, and then you just get hooked on to it.
And there's an appreciation with it, because it's a sport that anybody can do. I mean, you don't need a basketball field, a cricket field. You don't need a football, soccer field. You don't necessarily need teammates. You just
Yeah,
need the will to get out the door and move forward. That's the wonderful thing about the running community. Um, and it's open to anybody. All ages can do it. And as we both know, our paths are crossing right now because our love of staying active, which is
that's
a wonderful
true.
thing. For different parts of the world connected right now because of our common love of staying active.
Absolutely. Yeah. And actually, from not being able to run even that mile to becoming a marathon runner, what you are right now, to forming two legit fitness and then becoming a running coach. So, what has that journey really been like, if you look back from then to now?
Wow. It has been, I guess, in one word, amazing. It really has, because what I have realized at this stage of my life, 52 years young, and being a member of the running community, the global running community, is a great example of what's happening right now, is some of my closest friends on earth happen to be runners, that we have that in common. And you can talk about anything with a fellow runner. And when you have that in common with somebody, and it crosses all ethnic, political, so many things that they are not as relevant when you're just out there um, moving forward. And to see where I am at right now, and being all in. I mean, stepping away from a 25 plus year hospitality management career,
Yeah.
successful, and making that decision pre pandemic, and going all in as a health and wellness endurance professional. The community itself has been so fulfilling in so many ways, that it was an easy choice for me. It was. And even navigating through the pandemic, and going from the very first marathon in, let's see, July of 2012 in San Francisco, that desire to move forward, simple, one foot in front of the other, has taken me all across the United States. I've been able to see wonderful cities, meet people in the midst of a race where you have something in common with the people who are in the first wave, or
Yeah.
the back of the packers that are just trying to get to the next aid station and get to the next mile. That you can relate with everybody in every single race, and being able to be present in the middle of those opportunities, and being able to connect with somebody to your left and to your right. A high five, a fist bump can go a long way, because I recall on multiple occasions when people have done that for me. So it's hard to believe that I've been running for as long as I have, but I still consider myself a new runner. I know people who've been running for 20, 30 years, and I still feel that my best days as a runner are ahead of me. And whatever I can do to help people, as we'll talk about, um,
Yeah.
understand how they can enjoy running more, that gives me a lot of satisfaction and joy. So,
Yeah. And it's really amazing, like what you said, right? Like you travel across, or you take part in events, running events, or simply you're just running in the neighborhood or in your park, and you say hi to people you don't even know. And if you're like running a marathon, everyone's in pain after a
oh,
certain
yeah, sure.
distance.
Sure.
And it's like, just that the crowd cheering you and the people along the way that make it just so much fun to pull you through.
Yes, absolutely. Well said. Well said.
Yeah, it's like you have your training at on one hand, like which you kind of put it on that main race day, and then you have all the other things that come along that actually make you finish and cross that finish line with a smile.
And when we cross that finish line, it's a great feeling. One, because we're done. Sometimes we're very tired. But the level of appreciation and all the memories of the training kind of comes, like from start to finish. And it's sometimes in the midst of the race, we deal with a little bit of adversity. Sometimes things don't always go as planned.
Yeah,
Much like we see in life, there are going to be things that happen. We all saw that very clearly coming out of 2020. And in some cases, we're still living that in 2021. What do we do when we're in the race of life? Do we say, well, you know what, I'm going to stop? Is there I'm going to give up? No, we still have to keep pressing forward. We still have to put one foot in front of the other and be able to navigate through some of life's adversity. And we see that when we're through our training. Sometimes injuries may happen. Sometimes our obligations with family and work will happen. But
yeah,
being able to navigate those training cycles, getting there to race day, feeling the anxiety of race day, the anticipation, the excitement, and then when that gun goes off, and then navigating your way through the course, whatever the distance may be, 5K,
yeah,
10K, half marathon, marathon, um, but feeling that your sense of freedom, that every step you're taking, you're outrunning father time, that there is a bit of a fountain of youth out there, and it's called getting active and doing something. You are probably healthier in some way than you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, because of your love of the running community. Running has rewarded us all in making us healthier, and it's also helped expand our social circles. So,
yeah, absolutely. And like like you just spoke about adversity, right? So whenever there is so much to learn if you're a runner, or from any sport, back to drawing parallels with life. So like they say, it's life is a marathon, right? You can't kind of eat the entire elephant at one go, but run the mile you are in.
I love that saying. I love actually both of those, two of my favorites.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Jim Cordoba. It was my very first marathon, pre-marathon, and it's daunting to think 26.2 miles. 26.2 miles. When not too long ago, I remember I was struggling to get through 1 mile, but I have 26 to go. He said, you know what, B, just eat that elephant one bite at a time. And I thought, what? Okay, I understand that. And the same thing where run the mile that you're in. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. And it's the same thing. You can take that thought process and apply it to everyday life as well. Because sometimes if we look at the totality and the gravity of all that is going on, it can be overwhelming. But if we just slow down a bit and lean into what is happening right now and draw on our past experience and say, you know what, I've been pretty resilient. I'll be able to get through this. um it's going to be okay. And again, run the mile that you're in. And as our mutual friend Matt Fitzgerald said, life is a
A
marathon.
marathon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So just, talking about this whole community building, so while running is a solo sport, it like, we always we are talking about it that it builds community. So can you give me like, give us some examples of community building through running? Like I remember when you spoke to me about, your family participating, how you started running and then your family caught on. And so can you just give us, some examples around that? Because it's like if you live around in the family, and if there are two runners or one runner, it kind of passes on. You kind of, leave that with the others, and then someone else will continue, and then someone else will continue, and it's like a chain reaction. So if you could just tell us more about that.
Yes. Great question. And we'll start with family. Okay. Very personal stories as it relates to family fitness and the Newson family. We'll start first with my dear brother Bernardo, 3 years my junior, hardworking man, fantastic husband and father. Um, and in 2007, he had a kidney transplant, and he was, very healthy. Never had a drink, never smoked, but just through, I think, genetics. He was born with underfunctioning kidney that we didn't learn about until his mid 30s, and he was very fortunate to get that kidney from our sister Bashana. And they're both doing well. um, and he was not a runner up until probably 2012 or 13. And I think my level of activity, knowing that it's in his best interest for him to stay healthy and extend his time and his presence, his legacy, that we started to run together. And I remember pacing him to his very first 5K finish line, his very first 10K finish line, to his very first half marathon. And there was a point when he finished that first half marathon, he's like, I am not, that's hard. I remember him saying that his feet were on fire. And it was in 2013 that that he was probably not going to pursue a distance past that. So we fast forward to late 2017. We're on his own without any encouragement from me that, what, I think I want to do the Los Angeles Marathon.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, all right. And we spent some time training together. We also had a mutual friend that helped him with some training. And in March of 2018, we crossed that finish line together with our father present, and probably 10 other team members, 10, 15 team members from the Bay Area that had gone down to participate and run their own race. But what a wonderful experience. And fast forwarding to this past December 2020, the end of last year, I have sisters that are twins, and my brother Bernardo. I mentioned that I was going to be running in Atlanta in late February of this year. Um, and I was initially going to do the full marathon. And I threw it out there to them. Would they consider running? And they all agreed that yes. Again, this is December 2020. The race was about 3 months later, if that, maybe 2.5 months. So they all said yes. And then I knew that I was not going to do the full marathon. I dropped down to the half marathon so we could all, in theory, run together. They went from couch to half marathon training
Wow.
wise. And I believe on the 28th of February, we all towed the line and we completed the 2021 Atlanta half marathon. And my niece was present, brother-in-law present, nephew present. My niece ran her very first 5K the day before. I was able to pace her. And the wonderful thing right now is that both sisters are still running. One of them is joining a running club in the Atlanta area. My niece is running. My sister, who lives here in California, completed a 10K that I was present last Saturday. And it's all, and they will ask for some advice and may do a bit of some training suggestions for them. But the main thing is they have the joy of staying active, and they enjoy the running community, and they enjoy putting distances or races on the calendar and working towards it and then sharing. It's improved our ability as a family. We communicate more um, because of our love of running, and I could not be prouder of them. My brother and his family as well, very active. My nieces are very, very active. So that's just an example from a family perspective in regards to community and how when people are feeling good and healthier, it's contagious, and it impacts other people in their circle as well. And we're seeing examples of that all the time. And we need that level of community, especially now, especially now. And it's a double whammy because we're being encouraged in some cases not to get together because of the pandemic in some ways. So, how can we still maintain a sense of a healthy lifestyle and still congregate and get together and promote health and wellness while being safe in the process?
Yeah, I think that's such a wonderful story. I mean, it's like your entire family is now hooked onto
Oh, I
something
could,
so
yeah,
healthy.
so wonderful.
It's
I
a
mean,
good addiction.
it was
Yeah.
like it was like a dream. One when they all said, "Okay, we're in," and I'm thinking, "Okay, well, let's see." Meaning, okay, you say you're in, now sign up.
Yeah.
Sign up for the race, put some money in it, sign up for the race. And they all signed up. They all got
Yeah.
the airline tickets. Again, we have a sister who lived in the Atlanta area. But I tell you, when we got to the expo, and my niece was very excited to run her very first 5K, that was a great experience the day before. But to look to my left and look to my right and to see my siblings out there, um,
You would have never thought.
very, very,
Yeah.
very special. Very, in
Yeah.
fact, yeah, very special. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And I think I can relate to that. And, all our viewers would be, having their versions of, similar stories in their minds right now. Is like if I am running an event, wherever, I always encourage my family. You don't have to really run a half marathon. There
Right.
is a 3K, there is a 5K, there is a 10K. Choose what you want
Yeah, and walk. I just,
and walk.
just, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm always like, you don't really have to do the marathon. You don't really have to do the half marathon. Do whatever distance is there, you know. So yeah, and you gave an example of family. So that is a lovely story to share because and the other thing is you don't know where and who you inspire when. You could be just inspiring people by just being there. Oh, so and so did it, so and so has done this, even I can do it. So imagine with your family members whom you would have not thought that they would be runners, and they ran and completed this, their friends, and then it just goes on, right? Their friends friends, and so on and so forth.
Yes, I'm seeing examples of that all the time with some of my dear friends who happen to be teammates, and some of them are clients that I coach, involving their children, their children. Now, I have a mother and daughter that are friends and clients as well, because as the mother who's training for, I believe, 3 marathons, um, her daughter is now a client and is chasing a 5K PR distance, and is enjoying it. Where
Yeah,
and another client whose son is very active. Arena, who's probably on this watching this live feed right now, and her son
yeah,
Matthew. Keep up the good work. Proud of you. I just love that level of with the youth, especially, and being able to have something in common with their parents, because right now a lot of kids don't get outdoors as much, or there's less physical PE
yeah,
in the classrooms. With kids working from home last year,
yeah.
homeschooling because of the pandemic, there was less physical activity. So those parents are able to encourage a active lifestyle and their kids to get out there and do that. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. And it's just wonderful to see how things rub off. And this is such a positive thing to rub off to, family, beyond family, and so on. Yeah. And just Putran, I will just put in some comments that people have been
Sure.
posting here. So
Hmm.
straight from the time I read out your introduction on, right? So one is happiness of self is definitely deeply linked to happiness of others. Thank you for your work.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah. And then we have more comments. One foot in front of another is also a thing to remember in life. Then I think, yeah, Coach B is the best. And the joy of staying active. Yeah, so people are really enjoying listening to you, Coach B. Inspiring family story and bonding through running. Yeah, I have from another family. You have encouraged both your mothers to do a 3K and they were so happy. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
And finishing any distance in an event is thrilling. Yeah.
Yes.
Like you said, right? 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile,
Mm.
whatever. It's
And
just a thrilling
we cannot
experience.
take it for granted. We cannot take our health for granted. Um, and we've seen so many examples of that. It should be that statement should be more relevant than it ever has, considering what we have come out of and what we're still
Yeah.
navigating in the pandemic. We have all been touched by this in some way,
Yeah.
and we can't take um being able to go to a live race. I mean, even here in the States, here in California, here in Northern California, I live in Santa Clara County. It's been one of the more progressive areas in the United States, and certainly in California, in regards to COVID protocols. And we have several live events: San Francisco Marathon, Santa Rosa Marathon in the wine country on the horizon, that right now might be in some level of, are they or aren't they going to happen? And there, I have clients and good friends that have spent months and months in trainings and hundreds of dollars in race fees and hotel accommodations, in some cases with destination events, flying out of area, all in a sense that we just want to contribute to that local city's economy and have some fitness fellowship in the process. But you can't get too far ahead of yourself, because we are that close to being where we were in 2020. So being mindful of that and appreciative of that, and really taking control of our health before health takes control of us. So what can we
Yeah.
control? We can control our diet to a certain degree. We can control how active we are, and we can control, I mean, being active is a way to help manage stress. There's a level of
Right.
therapy and a therapeutic benefits by being active and being part of the greater running community, especially when you involve others, when you have um, accountability buddies, or if in your workplace you have people that are able to, with something else in common with, to get outdoors and either go on hikes. If there is a health and wellness initiative within the company that you work for, or just on your own, being able to find a routine that
Yeah.
helps you stay active and gives you that stress relief outlet, I think is very important.
Yeah. Yeah. We have one question. Coach B, have you ever considered an ultra marathon?
I have. I've completed, technically, I guess the ultra marathon is anything more than 26.2 miles. So I think I've done 6 or 7 ultra marathons that are generally
Wow.
trail in nature. We have some beautiful trails out here in Northern California. Very fortunate and blessed that way. So yes, I have completed several ultra marathons.
Wow. So I should have said in your introduction, a non-runner to a runner to a marathon runner to an ultra runner.
I'm very fortunate to be called a runner, because sometimes I still look in the
Yeah.
mirror and think, well, did this have I really run a race or two?
Yeah.
It's also, sometimes it feels like it's not, it's that somebody else,
Yeah.
because I don't do it for the sake of, um for the medal or the
Yeah.
bib. I'm not
Yeah.
always running to chase down a personal best. Some of my most cherished moments, which in many cases was this past Saturday, it was in a 10K. I was lucky enough to run, but where my heart was the fullest is being able to run friends into the finish line, going back out on the course a mile or a half mile out, seeing them, and then running them into the finish. Priceless,
Yeah.
fantastic. Or pacing somebody to their first distance to a 5K. Knowing that someone's, the anxiety and the anticipation, and giving somebody the confidence that, you know what, you got this. You can see the potential. You can see the work that they've already put into it. Or people who are training for longer distances, like a half marathon or marathon personal best, and being part of those journeys as a
Yeah.
coach. I think that's
Yeah.
what pulled me from the hospitality business and put
Yeah.
me right into what fills my heart the most, is in working with people and having them realize and unleash that inner athlete and let it flourish, with a little bit of direction and support.
Yeah, I already have goosebumps listening to you on like going back and like pacing friends and to the finish line. I can
Oh, it's
actually
great.
picture it.
It's
Yeah,
great. Yeah, I mean, I almost no words for me. It is that profound.
yeah,
It is that
yeah,
profound.
yeah. We have a question here, Coach. Which track events in the latest Olympics were impressive to you?
Great audience questions here. Let's see. Historically, I've always been a track and field, shorter distance, 100 meters, 200 meters, and the relays. Since I've become a middle distance and long distance runner, I love all of those middle distance events, the like 1500, um, five that the 5,000, the 300 meter steeplechase. I still like the field events. I do. But those are, and I love the underdog stories. You're always going to have your favorites, but
Yeah,
and there were a lot of people who, I think, the pressure may have gotten to them, that maybe came in as favorites, but just didn't perform for one reason or another. And a lot of the American sprinters, some would say, um, underperformed to expectations. I just think the world is catching up in many cases. So I love the Olympics. I'm glad that they're able to
yeah,
for them to happen at their ongoing. Actually, they're wrapping up here pretty soon. It's unfortunate that sense of the fans, the spectators, weren't pressed, because that just gives the athletes a different feel. And
yeah,
we've probably done races ourselves where, during the pandemic or out of run, where there's been less people out to support. But I like the middle distance events.
yeah, yeah. Okay, and just going back to the point on coaching, Bertrand. So it's like so what benefits do you think an individual can expect by associating themselves with a coach or be a part of a running community or a club? So is this, do you think like being associated with the coach is beneficial only from a beginner standpoint, or should one have a coach lifelong?
I believe that a coach can benefit somebody on from first timer to the experienced runner. I've seen that, and athletes can benefit by a level of structure and consistency. That's what a coach brings to the table. They bring a
Right.
level of accountability. They bring experience, but it has to be a two-way street where coach and athlete are working together, regardless of experience level. The athlete is articulating to the coach what their goals are, whether it be race time based or distance based, and how is the coach improving the athlete's overall awareness of their capability and just helping mentor consistency. There's no secret sauce here.
Yeah.
Coaches, in many cases, that we all have different training plans, but they are similar in nature. The key thing is consistency. You have to be able to put in the work consistently, week to week. If anyone is looking for how can I become a better runner, you have to be consistent. But knowing how frequent to run, and what types of run, the intensities of the run, the distances of the run, and the importance of incorporating quality rest, and when to warm up, how to cool down, a good nutrition strategy. A coach brings those subtleties to the table as well. And being a coach has worked with many different athletes, they have that knowledge base where they can
Yeah.
help the athlete optimize a lot of different components that are very relevant, but nothing more important than consistently putting in the work and knowing again what the intensity is, the duration of how many days are we going to go at an elevated effort, and how
Yeah.
often are we going to go at a more kind of conversation pace. And with our mutual friend Matt Fitzgerald, the founder of the 80-20 endurance and the 80-20 rule,
Yeah.
80% basically conversation pace and 20% at a higher elevated,
Yeah.
hard days hard, easy days easy.
Easy.
And rest is not a bad thing. And from time to time, you may have to walk. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But having a coach to help you navigate your journey um, benefits all fitness levels.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, Coach, because many runners undermine the whole walking bit, right? They think that, oh, I walked a certain distance instead of running in an event, which is absolutely fine, right? Because people mostly look at that as something which is, I prepped for it, I didn't run, but I walked, say, about 2 miles, and then I ran, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Um, and again, I think it's based on the experience level and the overall health of the athlete as well. Sometimes you're going to be forced to walk. If you're in an ultra marathon and there's a lot of vertical
Oh,
ascent,
yes.
you're
Oh,
you
yeah.
you are going to walk at some point. That's just how it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's going to be a point as we learn as runners when we are in. This is one thing runners in a race all have in common at the start. We are all generally very fresh and eager to get running. And
Yeah.
typically we start out very fast.
Yeah.
And sometimes we start out faster than we should.
Yeah.
If you've done that, raise your hand. I have been
Yeah.
there. I ran this morning with some good friends. I felt
Yeah.
very good in the beginning. The middle part, I was like, "Oh boy, I probably ran too fast," and I
Yeah.
really had to hang on
Yeah.
towards the end. I'm a big fan of negative split, when meaning where you start off a little bit slower and you get
Right.
progressively faster. Um, but too many times as runners, we typically run too fast, too early, and we are
Yeah.
just hanging on as we get to the end of the run. So that's where a coach, again, can help um, make the athlete
Yeah.
aware, looking at the data, being able to show if we were to conserve and crush versus dash and crash, which a
Yeah.
lot of us do. We want to try to avoid that. You will see yourself surging at the middle of a race or at the end when other people are just hanging
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
So that's where coach brings that level of experience to the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah. And it's also, I think, one is, like you said, people are all fresh at the start line. The other thing is also, peer pressure. Oh, so and so is going so fast, and I'm
Oh
like way
yeah.
behind. You better catch up.
Always looking at somebody. I mean, I love this saying, and I've been using it more lately. Your space, your pace. Okay. Your
Yeah.
race, your pace, because either we're comparing ourselves to ourselves in the past, or we're looking around saying, okay, or we've made a proclamation on social media. This is my race.
Yeah.
I've told the world,
Yeah.
and now I have to go and do it. You
Yeah.
can still do that, but
Yeah.
it's that first quarter of the race, the first half of the race. Coaches are suggesting strategy versus always just running on fill. And we know there are going to be events and workouts where you're just running to get it done, where maybe it's not tied to a time, where you're running stress free and you're running for the sake of just running and soaking it all up, where you're not every
Yeah.
mile looking, what's my pace? What's my
Yeah.
cadence? Sometimes you
Yeah.
get lost in it.
Yeah.
It takes the good out of it sometimes if you're that driven. Always have fun and appreciate the ability and the gift to be able to get out and to run. And sometimes when you're having those tougher days, which is going to happen to all of us, sometimes realize those people who may not be able to run or may not be with us, and make it about doing it in the memory or for somebody else who can't, just to give you some perspective where you
Yeah.
can dig a little bit deeper, and we talked about mindfulness. I
Yeah.
believe that the mind absolutely can move the body. In my case, when I had a coming off of a broken foot, I think having a positive attitude and being able to accept the circumstances and being optimistic helped my healing process. I think if it was the reverse, if I was pessimistic and feeling sorry for myself and this really sucks, I think it could have delayed my ability to come back it healthier. So mindfulness plays a huge role in this.
Yeah. And I have a question on this a little later, or maybe I can just ask, right away now that we're talking about mindfulness. There is this famous quote by Tom Collin, the former American football coach to the New York Giants. And, he said, be where your feet are. And that basically means that, we all have one mind that plays different roles in the day. So, so what does mindfulness actually have in the training that you recommend? Like when you're training people, do you only talk about the runs and the trainings, or do you also emphasize on, be where your feet are?
That's I would hope that my team members, the clients, athletes that I'm very fortunate enough to work with. I have to say coach because it's a partnership.
Yeah,
Um, that it is bigger than the workout, and that if I'm able to convey a sense of being present, being mindful, um, and being able to look at somebody's like life circle, their responsibilities to their family, that are working professionals, their time for themselves, and their time for themselves as it relates to health and fitness, and being sensitive to that complete circle of life. Um, and we may have there are occasions where clients, uh, partners that are looking every what's the next race, what's the next race, sign up, sign up, sign up, sign up, sign up, good intentions because they are motivated, and by them putting those goals on their calendar, I think is a good thing. But you also want balance. You also want to make sure you have the support of your
yeah,
family,
yeah,
that your partners are signed, or they can come out and support. They may be active as well, but you want to have balance. On the flip side, some with work,
yeah,
that if you're so committed in one area, you don't want another area to suffer. So being able to
right,
communicate that sense of let's look at the bigger picture and look at perspective,
yeah,
because the preparation is always going to be there. We're working on the preparation component of it.
yeah,
Um, but yes, I want to feel that am conveying a sense of more than I'm concerned, more than just the athlete's performance from measured metrics. How many miles did you run? What was the
mm,
cadence? Let me look at the elevation gain. Did you hit your marks? Yes or no? Conversations are bigger than that. Um, as we look at,
yeah.
like life is a marathon.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, like one size doesn't fit all. So there are people
Doesn't.
with various backgrounds and, work requirements coming in. Someone could have a very hectic day at work versus someone who's had a bad day with family. It could be just about anything. And they've like, come with different mindsets, and you just need to coach every person differently because they are people at the end of the day.
And yes, and a coach, I think a very good coach, their one of their best assets is their ability to listen. It's to ask good
Yeah,
questions and how to have the athlete open up, but being able to say, "How are you?" and have the discipline to let the athlete, the client, the friend open up and share, and then take
yeah.
the conversation from there. Of course, we're going to look at past training runs, future training runs, and go through that the formality of measured improvement, but also
Yeah,
understanding, what are some other factors that may be going on in the background that may be contributing to reduced energy levels, and there are
yeah,
things that can be happening that we can talk about to understand that this is why, okay, and that every one single workout doesn't define
yeah,
you, and to again have some presence and perspective that we'll just get back on it later in the week, that it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Coach. Just taking on some questions from the audience. There is a question on any exercises that you would recommend for improving running stamina. I think I would say is just show up every day, but I would like to hear from you.
Good question.
Yeah,
For those of you who live in areas that have some hills, okay, if they have hills and you may be pressed for time, you can get good value for finding a short hill and doing hill repeats.
yeah,
Um, or if you're going on a run where typically, because running on flat areas are a little bit easier, if
yeah,
you run in areas that have some elevation gain, you can cut the time down so you get some time back on your calendar. But it's going to give you, it's going to benefit different energy sources within your body and from an endurance perspective. So you get a little bit more value when you do incorporate hills periodically. Doesn't mean that every one of your runs needs to be with lots of hills. But I think incorporating them once a week, maybe sometimes twice a week, if it's hill repeats or a route that is a little bit hillier, that might be one way to do that.
right. Thank you. Then we have a comment. I think passion too, looking at the passion a coach like you brings would really encourage an individual. I think this is going back to the
Mhm.
coaching thing. Yeah.
And I would
Uh,
encourage individuals who are seeking a coach. You're going to have
yeah.
a consultation, and I think it's important to feel a level of relatability. There always has to be a level of trust that you feel that the person on the other side is able to motivate, and there's a
Yeah.
level of accountability as well. So
Yeah.
that's very important.
Yeah. Um, yeah. One of your quotes, your pace, your race.
Amen. And it's it is very easy, especially when you have a vibrant and active running community. If you're part of a running club, a running group, a running tribe, that I'm a huge fan of, Race Mob, 80/20 Endurance, Too Legit Fitness, wherever it may be, Mindful Running, Bay Area Run Club, et cetera, I can go on and on, all fantastic. But when you're running with a group, inevitably you're running with friends and you see people that may be running a little bit faster, and there's
Yeah.
that level of I want to compare, am I,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's good for from an incentive standpoint, but always it's important to be mindful of, again, mindful, your your space, your pace,
Yeah.
your race, your pace. And
Yeah.
you could very easily in a training run, but certainly on race day, when you may mark somebody in the race and you start
That
running
happens.
ahead
Yeah.
in the beginning, you can pay the price because you're making it about somebody else. Trust your training, have strategy on the front end. There's another takeaway for the audience from on race day or on your longer training runs or middle distance runs. Think about, what do I want to get out of this? Okay. What do I want to work on? Okay, maybe this is about cadence. Okay, how many, I mean, how many steps per minute? Maybe I want to focus on that. Maybe this workout's going to be about foot strike. Maybe this is about maintaining a positive attitude even when it gets a little tough, that I'm still going to try to will my way through those moments where I'm having to labor a little bit more, or my breathing's a little bit harder, or I'm feeling the lactic acid build up, but I still want to maintain the level of positivity. Um, Pick things out during your training runs, and certainly when you're able to get back in India to live racing,
Yeah.
always have some level of strategy on your race day. And what do I mean by strategy? Hydration strategy. What are you taking? Is it primarily water or something to incorporate some electrolytes? How frequently are you going to be drinking those electrolytes? With nutrition, if you're consuming gels, how frequently? 45
Yeah.
minutes, an hour, or is it on particular mile markers? If you're running a half marathon as an example, 13.1 miles. So maybe at mile 0, you take that first gel. At mile 5, you take the second gel. And at mile 10, that will take you that last 5K or so. So that's 3 gels. To think about that in advance versus, oh, I'll just kind of see what happens. You can't
Yeah.
always do that because it can impact your performance, especially if you're running with a time goal in mind to leverage all your
Right.
hard work.
Yeah. So just going back to the diet and nutrition aspect, we have a question. What is your take on diet, organics, fresh produce, proteins, etc.?
Great. Love them. I think we all could, if we all ate healthier in in unison with an active lifestyle, it is the perfect combination. I've lived that part where I've been very active, but this coach has a sweet tooth. I love sweets. I do. It is my nemesis. It is. So I just try not to have them in the house as much. But certainly a healthy diet. And if you can do some level of meal prepping at the beginning of the week, that's what something that has worked
Yeah.
for me. I'm a big fan of smoothies, fruit, veggie smoothies, protein drinks, meal supplements. That way, that has worked for me personally. I'm not a nutritionist, but I know what has worked for me and for people that I've seen go through some moderate or significant weight loss. One in particular, I'm going to call her out, Ingrid, who started running in late 2019. She's training for her very first marathon at the end of this month. Ingrid has lost over 170 pounds.
Wow.
And it's just by way of just making something clicked with her and being active, but where the active lifestyle and a good diet exponentially has fanned that significant weight loss. So if you can have those both in working at the same time, very important. I always say you cannot outrun a fork. You can work out as
Yeah.
much as you want. I mean, I've run a half marathon and then realized that how did I put on more weight because my
Yeah.
diet was not in check. You cannot outrun a fork.
I love your quotes.
Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, yeah, excellent advice. I think I'm just reading out some of the previous comments, coach. Conserve and crush, crash and dash and crash. Yeah.
Hey, that's write it down because that's what's
Yeah.
going to happen. If you conserve a little bit on the beginning of your runs, and then if you get to the halfway point and you have a little bit of gas in the tank, leverage that towards the finish. If you want to get out again, as we talked about this earlier, you want to dash. You feel everybody feels good in the beginning of the run. Yes, I'm feeling it. I'm
Mhm.
pushing ahead. I'm going to run this pace from start to finish. Tough to do. We're dashing, and in many cases, we're crashing as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, ultimately, we're looking for either a even split or a negative split.
Negative. Yeah.
We want to avoid the very common, too often positive split.
Yeah. Some more questions, coach. Coach B, did you experience a phase where you had stopped running owing to any physical or emotional challenge, and how did you get back to running?
All right, that's a good question. For me personally, as busy as I had been as a working hospitality executive, driving 120 miles to and from work. I lived in the South Bay and worked in San Francisco. Running was always a form of therapy. I had, some would say, a high stress job managing two hotels for the last 5 years of my professional career.
Yeah.
I Running was a constant for me. So the longest break I had from running, and no pun intended, is when I broke my foot in May of this year. So I'm just getting back. I had a 2.5 month, almost 3 month break from running. That's the longest break I've had. Um, and I it it I was still tied to it because I work with runners all the time. I was living vicariously through them, and I was still able to stay active by getting to the gym. But my
Yeah.
longest break was the past 2.5 3 months. But since then, no, I haven't had any extended breaks. I have seen that happen. I've seen people for very personal reasons have to take a break, either due to significant illness, taking care of a family member, um, relationship,
Yeah.
transition, things along those
Yeah.
lines that where maybe
Yeah.
they just didn't have the time. Depression can play a role as
Yeah.
well. So, but I've also seen those people get back into it and then realize that it has been a constant source of positivity, helping them emotionally, and seeing the physical benefits and the social component as well. All those three factors together makes it a little bit easier to stay in it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always tough to get back, but I mean, people know that what does it entail if I get back after all the hardships, or whether it's a physical injury or whether it's a mental hardship. They all know by the end of the day if I get back to it, because I enjoyed while I did that. And I've taken a break, so I know I'm going to get that same feeling once I go back.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, we have a fun comment, coach. From the way you are describing the role and perspective of a coach, you appear to be Coach A. Okay. Yeah. We
Thank
have
you for that.
another question. Is walking not sufficient for person who can't run?
Moving forward is the objective. Getting out and staying active on any level, you are winning. So getting out of the house, if you're hiking, if you're walking, if you're jogging, or if you're running, that is a win in this coach's book. Your body is being rewarded. So yes, there are going to be people who right now who may want to run but can't.
Yeah.
But you just have to start. You just have to get outdoors, or if you have that treadmill at home or at a local gym, just get out and do something. Get active on some level. We have to, we have to. It's a great form of stress relief. It's a great way to expand your social circle. It's a great way to build self confidence. It's a great way to stay ahead of father time that is trying to chase us all down. It's a great way to really realize that there is a fountain of youth. You can feel better than you did your previous birthday. You can feel better than
Yeah.
you did 5 years ago. Okay, I just mentioned Ingrid, who in December 2019 was finding her inner athlete and is now 170 pounds lighter and going to run her very first, yes, 170 pounds, is going to run her very first marathon on the 29th of this month. So, um, and then also there are professionals that you can see outside of a running coach, physical therapist.
Yeah.
You don't want to find yourself only going to see a physical therapist when you're injured. There are some preventative maintenance where you can be proactive in incorporating some level of exercise routines that strengthens your core, your long muscles, your hamstrings, quads, glutes, your core, all those things. So you're not only run, and also being able to mix in some strength training as well. So having some variety in your workout routine is very good. And again, to answer the question, walking is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
If that's where you're at,
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Coach A plus.
That's our resident physical therapist right there, one of the best in the
Oh,
business.
I
Yes,
see. Okay.
absolutely. Run Rocket PT.
Yeah. So, coach, which is your favorite workout?
All right. Let's see. I like it gives me a little bit of two of my favorite things. I love conversation pace runs, but I also enjoy speed play. So some people may laugh at this running term. It's called fartleks,
Yeah.
and it's a Swedish word for speed play. So I'll give you an example of how you can incorporate some speed workouts on your everyday run. And again, with speed, I would not recommend this for people just starting their running journey, because your body needs to build up a bit of tolerance, which your ligaments and cartilage and bones and all of the good stuff need to build up a little bit of
Yeah.
tenure before you start
Yeah.
to incorporate a level of speed play. But if I'm going to go on a 5K run or a 10K run and I want to mix things up, I will pick maybe every odd mile, and I'll do maybe 10 reps of 10 to 15 seconds. And I'm just picking up the pace, not going to a
Hmm.
complete sprint, but I'm challenging myself I'm incorporating some speed play, and it's mixing up the dynamic in the run, because sometimes when you're out there running by yourself on a trail or at the track, it can get a little boring if you're not listening to music, which I don't typically do.
Yeah.
But incorporating a little bit of speed play makes the workout go by a little bit quicker. And for those people who feel uncomfortable in doing like structured speed work, going to a track and doing intervals and things along those lines,
Yeah.
doing fartleks, and if it's not, it could also be landmarks. So if you're running in your neighborhood, run like one block, conversation pace, and then the next block you're running faster. So fast, pull it back,
Yeah.
fast, pull it back, stoplight to stoplight, fire hydrant to fire hydrant, just mixing it up. The intensity is a nice way to bring some variation and creativity and mental stimulation to those everyday runs. So I like fartleks.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think, I do the same, coach, because it's like if you're feeling tired, if you're having a bad day, for me, the target is a particular tree, for example. I'm going to run till that tree or till that lamppost, at a particular speed. And that's like just going from one target to the other target, like short goals, and varying your speed depending on how you feel. So you can actually play around your workout the way you want it to be.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
agree.
that's yeah, so that's a good one. Just changing gears a bit, and talking more about diversity and inclusion, coach. So just wanted to understand, like, there is so much happening over the last year and a half, in the US, where you are, and over many 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 years, we all know it historically. So has been an African American and part of minority come in the way of achieving your goals?
That's a very personal question,
Yeah,
and one that I've had to live through for 52 years, and very present over the last year and a half or so.
yeah,
Um, I don't. The running community is very friendly. It's been very welcoming to me, and I'm fortunate to live here in the Bay Area. It's very, very diverse. The Bay Area is, the Too Legit and Race Mob Running Club community is incredibly diverse. The 80/20 cadre that I'm a part of and I'm an ambassador
yeah,
for, the ambassadors, it's a worldwide
yeah,
medley of people from across the globe. And again, the common love of running, it does break down a lot of stereotypes and a lot of division. But I can't ignore the fact that running in general is not typically on the broader spectrum um, embraced in the inner city. It's not, I don't, and there have been, um, I've run at occasions where, maybe the only African American in that group. Have I thought
yeah,
twice about it? No, because I grew up on a military base. I
yeah.
was born in Germany. I've been exposed to many
Oh,
different cultures. So I don't see color,
yeah,
biracial children. So, but yes, and I've, as a working professional, in white collar America, I'm sure I've embraced, or I've navigated through some level of um, uh, discrimination, but
mm,
I work hard. So I don't make excuses, but I am very conscious of the fact that there's been a lot of unjust.
mm,
And but for me, I'm I'm inspired, and as I have a platform, as I have a community around me, I enjoy um, giving others the opportunity, giving them the a vehicle to express, to articulate, to include. I'm very proud of Too Legit Fitness. We have an advisory board that is very diverse. Um, our group consists of probably 65 to 70% women overall.
wow,
And they are the heart and soul, the backbone, without a doubt, of my running community. So I have to give all the credit to
yeah,
the strong leaders out there, and there are many. Our co-captain Rebecca Hernandez, and I can go on and on. I've saw several team members that um, and women in general. You guys have you are
mhm,
the lifeblood,
Mm.
and are so strong. And I know that my circle, my fitness circle, has flourished because of all the strong women that are leading by example, being the gatekeepers, being the educators, being the mentors, being the breadwinners, in some cases on their own, you know.
Yeah,
I see a lot of examples like that. So, the power and the
yeah,
leverage and the level of inspiration. I've just been very blessed to have some
yeah,
incredibly strong women that have helped define the relevancy of community and compassion, that's made my running circle incredibly special.
yeah. Through this conversation, you just realize there is just so much more to being a part of a community and running in general. There is so much. There's all positives that come along the way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I I I would not be, and I believe I was saying this last month. I was the happiest broken-footed coach in America. Now I don't have a broken foot, but I still feel that I'm the happiest coach in America. And ever since the lights went on, you have not seen me not smiling. I was looking forward to this conversation because it gives me the opportunity to
Yeah,
share my sincere joy for being a part of this amazing community. It's fantastic. And I don't have all the answers. What I do know is I'm having fun and I
yeah.
enjoy sharing what I do know. I enjoy learning from others,
Hmm.
um, because if it can help us be a little bit happier and a little bit healthier. I mean, nothing better than that. That's a good thing because we need that, because there's so many forces out there, so much negativity,
Yeah,
that we have to find our way to support each other. And if we can do that and get outdoors,
yeah,
and hike and cycle or swim or get on a scooter, whatever it be, and
yeah.
have some fun in the process, that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just two more questions, Coach. One from the audience. We have Seema who's saying, I suffer from rheumatoid arthritis, but brisk walking, which I started from 1 kilometers, have gone up to 5 kilometers. How can I know if I'm not overdoing it?
Okay. um well, sending healing vibes to you for sure. And I applaud you for being able to pivot and to get into a walking groove. Walking is fantastic. Fantastic. Your body's going to tell you. How do you feel post workout, post walk? Do you feel like is it pain or is it fatigue? Is it soreness or is it something that might be sharp shooting? If it's something, and great advice from the PT community, if it's something that is altering your gait or you're walking differently,
Yeah,
um, then that is something to be a little bit more concerned. If it is a level of fatigue because you're working out, that's going to happen. So being able to differentiate pain from general soreness from fatigue. And if it's painful, if it's causing you to change how you run
yeah,
or how you walk, that's more reason for concern. And when you want to elevate and see a professional, sometimes taking a day or two, even a week off to see if you can recover, and then looking at
yeah,
some of the controllables. How new are your shoes? Are you walking or running it into or multiple pair of shoes? I suggest having two pair of shoes at least and kind of rotate. Are there too many miles on your pair of
mm,
shoes? And then if you have a local running store, or you can reach out to a coach and send a video and let them do an analysis on your walking form or running form. Maybe there are some subtle tips that we can give you to help you be a little bit more efficient and
yeah.
less discomfort.
Yeah. So basically, coach, in short, what you're saying is like even if someone goes from 1 kilometer to a five, listen to your body. And if you think you're
Yes,
doing fine, is absolutely fine.
correct.
Right. Okay. In the interest of time, coach, just one last question. What would you like to tell our viewers who have been procrastinating about starting to run? So any top three tips for beginner runners?
If you want to, then do it. The toughest thing to do is to start. So do that and take the time, get out a journal, get out the telephone, record yourself, and write down or speak into the camera on what your why is. Why should you get up and get outdoors and walk? Why should you get up, get outdoors and run? What is it going to do? It's going to make you healthier with some consistency. You will feel happier. And those are two good things. It can and will extend your ability to live longer, which is a good thing. Going to probably lose a pound or two, and your social circle is going to improve as well. Those are all good things, but you need the motivation. We all do. And we all know that we're very busy, but take the time and figure out the why, because you're going to need to refer to that why at some point in, I got to get up and get the work in before I have to start my day. Or do I have the energy to go and work out and walk or run after a long day's work? What is your why? Maybe you're dedicating it to a loved one. You're being an example to your kids. Maybe a grandparent or a parent has passed, someone prominent to you, an educator that made a significant impact on your life. Maybe you feel that you can take those steps and breaths that somebody else can't. So being present of mind and finding your why is going to help keep you active. But knowing what you're going to get out of it is health, happiness, in a longer life, more time with friends and family and kids and grandkids. Those are all good things. We all have the same amount of time in the day, 24 hours. How are we
Yeah.
going to use it? You can find the time. You can make the time. Utilize it on your personal calendar. If you have to, schedule your fitness activities on your calendar. If you
Yeah.
don't, everything else will happen around it and it won't get done. So find your why, put it on your calendar, and then consistency leads to results. And those results are going to be things that are going to make you happier and healthier and stay ahead of father time.
Yeah, that's great advice, coach. And I think one of the things that I've read in multiple places is that we always think of fitness schedule or any exercise regime as out of the work that we do. We don't realize that it's a part of the work that we do. We always think of it as something extra.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. If it's something that is important to you, you're going to get it done. If it's
Yeah,
not, then you won't. You have to make yourself a priority. It's not being selfish. It is
yeah,
not being selfish, because you have an obligation to your kids, to your partner, to your employer.
yeah,
You have an obligation to yourself to stay present and active and healthy. Get those checkups, get to the doctor, drink your water. Water, very, very important. Sleep, very, very important. You know, some of us don't get as much sleep as we should. So practice what you preach, coaches included. But it's important to drink water. And, if you're not drinking enough right now, drink more. Make it simple. It's not too complicated. Subtle changes lead to big gains.
yeah,
Consistency
right.
leads to results. So you can do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, and I love that thing about purpose and the why, because that's what actually will make you get out of bed and get going. And in fact, just to quote a little example from one of the books I read called 26 Marathons by Meb
Mhm,
Keflezighi.
mhm.
And he says that, when he won the Boston Marathon, he said that, I was really down and out in the last couple of miles. And then he actually had the names of the people who died in the Boston bombing the year
Oh,
before.
wow.
And he's like,
Okay.
I thought of those people and that pushed me. And, I just finished it. And he obviously was the winner.
I'm looking at the book right now. It's stacked on 3 others, so if I try to
Oh,
pull it out, the others might fall down on me. But, yes, I mean, that's exactly, because there are times when we're gonna have to dig deep, that it is less about the physicality. of,
Yeah.
because we may be completely spent and exhausted, that we feel that lactic acid, we can feel the heat from, and the humidity, and we're hungry and tired and all that other stuff. But
Yeah.
where the mindfulness plays a role, with the if you can psychologically realize that, you know what, if I just keep pressing forward, I muster up enough effort and make it about somebody else,
Yeah.
that can carry you to the finish line, that you can dig deep emotionally,
Yeah.
and it can get you there. Because if you the opposite is, if you succumb to the negativity, there's that yin and yang talk is always in our
Hmm.
mind. Either go, 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 or what in the heck did I sign up for this? Why am I doing this? This freaking sucks. This
Yeah.
hurts. Why did I wear
Yeah.
these shoes? Why did I put on Body Glide? Why? It's like, take a deep breath. No, perspective, and just 3, 2, 1, reset, make it about somebody else, tie back into your why, and then get through the workout, get to the finish line, and appreciate. Because we have to do is look back a year ago to what was happening in August
Yeah.
2020. Okay. Here in the States, worldwide, we're better off right now, not out of the woods. So let that perspective help shape your vision for today and tomorrow. And don't take your
Yeah.
health for granted.
Absolutely. That's really, it's really nice to have this conversation, Coach. And people have thoroughly enjoyed, that we can see by all the comments and the questions pouring in. So thank you so much. I know we've shot the time by a few minutes, but thank you so much, Coach. It was a pleasure talking to you and learning different aspects of running, coaching, community building. And yeah, thank you so much, to the audience for being present and listening to you and enjoying every bit of this conversation. So I would just like to end by, just a few lines and comments that I had, for the viewers and for everyone else here. That it's important not to think of running as an individual sport, rather look at it as a place where people, with common interest come together and encourage and support each other. So, diversity and inclusion in running or any other sport is important because it helps us to respect and value one another in the wider society, and it leaves no room for prejudice. At an individual level, inclusion in sports has many benefits because it promotes creativity, unique perspectives, and new opportunities. So, create as many opportunities as possible to take part in events whereby you can find, accept, and appreciate differences. And like through the conversation we've spoken about, that running not only brings about physical fitness, which includes burning calories, improving aerobic capacity, which is all good, but it also helps improve mental fitness and community building and a lot of other things that we spoke about. So it's always a plus plus plus. It gets you outside, like Coach kept insisting that you get outside. It gets you outside and keeps you in touch with nature, and all of this results in your overall well-being. So running actually is like having an old friend that is always there to lift your spirits. Yeah.
Well said. Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. And I've enjoyed my time. Fantastic host, fantastic audience questions. And yeah, team, have fun. Don't
Yeah,
get
thank you so
lost up
much.
in all the analytics and the over
Mhm.
evaluating. Just get out and have fun and appreciate the opportunity to be as active as you are, because you're also influencing people in your circle of life.
Right. Thank you so much, Coach, and have a great weekend, everyone. Bye bye.